This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Boker Tov. Boker Tov. Welcome to our trip. I want to, on behalf of Avi Rokeach, my name is Rabbi Glatstein, and we look forward to having an amazing couple days together, learning about the history of Spanish Jewry, of Jews in Amsterdam, in Portugal. And right off the bat, I want to present you with the following feeling that may even stir your heart, because as traveling through this country, an air of curiosity and mystery should fill one's heart, because I assume most of the travelers here are of Ashkenazic descent, although not exclusively. Nevertheless, 300,000 Jews, according to the Abarbanel, were expelled in 1492. And it is very possible and very likely that many of us, if not most of us, have roots in this country. And if you're thinking to yourself, come on, I'm a thoroughbred Ashkenazi, I'm from Poland, Hungary, Russia, Romania, I refer you to the family of the Aruch HaShulchan. Who remembers the name of the Aruch HaShulchan? Rabbi Michal Epstein was the great posek in Lithuania. Well, his son, the Tar Tamima, writes in his very interesting and very controversial work, Makar Baruch, that he writes that the family name Epstein was originally not Epstein, it was Benevisti, which was one of the most prestigious families of Spain that was expelled in 1492. Benevist, a well-known family of wealth and acclaim, and was one of the illustrious families exiled by Titus from Yerushalayim. And let's begin the trip. Everybody must remember the following pasuk. It's the pasuk at the end of Sefer Ovadia. The pasuk goes as follows: V'golos hachel hazel livnei Yisrael. If you want to know about Jewish exile, Asher Canaanim. Now, where's Canaanim? Where is that country? We think Canaanim is Israel. Nope. Ad Sarfas. So we're sent to Canaanim, to Sarfas, but Vigolos Yerushalayim, the nobility, the royalty of the Jewish people, Asher Bisfarad, Yarshuas Arei Hanegev. The Radak explains as follows: Titus exiled the Jews of Jerusalem to Canaanim, which is Germany, to Sarfas, which is France. But the royalty of Yerushalayim were specifically sent to Spain. The most prestigious Jews were sent to Spain. So I always think, the Navi says, Ki mitzion teitzei soira. Was that always true in Jewish history? What about during the Galus? No, during the Galus also. Because Spain was considered Tzion relocated. So the Rashba, the Ramban, the Rosh, all lived in Spain, so it's like the Torah is emanating from Tzion, because this is Galus Tzion. Now, interestingly, the Baal Tar Tamima illustrates how the finest of Klal Yisrael were exiled to Spain. So we're gonna go through a list of great Gedolei Yisrael, and when they signed off their letters, they considered themselves Galus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. So the first name I want to mention is Chizdai ibn Shaprut. Chizdai ibn Shaprut is of 10th century. He was a great statesman. He was a linguist. He is responsible for laying the foundations of what is known as the Golden Age of Spain. He wrote in the year 959 in a letter to the Khazar kingdom. He writes, Mimeni Chazdoi ben Yitzchak ben Ezra Mibnei Galus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. So that means Chizdai ibn Shaprut in the 10th century recognized that he is a descendant of the Jews of Jerusalem here in Spain. The Rambam would sign off his letters, Mibnei Galus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. There's a Sefer Shvilei Amuna of the Chachmei Toledo. He would end off his letters, Meir ben Yitzchak HaChasid Mibnei Galus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. The Smag in Mitzvah Loisase Kuf Yud Beis, he says, V'ha'arachti binyanim elu begalus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. He writes that in 1235. So already from the 10th century, for hundreds of years, the Jews of Spain recognized they were the royalty of the Jewish people. Maharam al-Shakar, he writes in Seville, 1391, that he had a dream, and there was a malach standing upon him. And the malach tells him, Kumna Yehuda, get up! Maher alei min ha'ir, get out of here. This is 1391. 1391 was the beginning of the forced conversions in Spain. Maher alei min ha'ir, ki yishafech Hashem chamosai al golus Yerushalayim asher b'sfarad. That means for 1500 years, the heavens recognized that Spain was a location of the most prestigious families of Klal Yisrael. Now it's very interesting. The Baal Tar Tmima writes that the Benevisti family split into two. Some went to Germany and they stopped there. Others went to Turkey, Kushta, Salonika, Izmir. They retained the original name Benevisti because they felt they were far enough away from the Inquisition that they could maintain their Sephardic name. But the part of the family remained in Germany. And they stopped at a place called Epstein. And they settled there because that was the first time they could rest their weary feet. And they were afraid to call themselves Benevisti because they were afraid of the tentacles of the Inquisition. So they wanted to change their name. They couldn't be labeled a Benevisti. I mean, if your name is Benevisti, then you're pegged as a Sephardi right away. So they changed their name to Epstein. Writes the Makar Baruch, the Tar Tamima, he says, Chaval, Chaval, Chaval Ma'oid, that we did not retain the name Benevisti and we took on an Ashkenazi name. If only we would retain the prestigious name Benevisti so that we could recognize that we are from the family of David, the Golus Yerushalayim Asher B'Sfarad. And I have to say that my grandfather's family settled in the city of Linschitz in Poland. That was a city of the Kli Yakar. And of all the cities in Poland, the Goyle Sepharad only settled in Linschitz. It was the only Polish city that was settled by Goyle Sepharad. So perhaps my family as well has roots over here. But you should know that as you're walking the streets, as you're riding the bus, according to even secular historians, notably Howard M. Sachar, he writes 80% of Spaniards today have Jewish blood. 80%. 80%. Not only that, some even say that Franco himself had Jewish blood. And although he did give away Jews to Hitler, he didn't always. And when asked about it, he said, if I would follow the Nuremberg rules, I myself would have to give myself in. So it's somewhat haunting to walk through this country, which is really soaked in Jewish blood, but recognizing that we have a lot of roots here, and even today, the effects of the Inquisition are still in the air. We know it was not put to an end officially until the 19th century, and it still was in effect to some extent until 1960s. So I hope everybody enjoys the trip. Be'ezus Hashem, looking forward to meeting everyone personally, and we're headed to the shul for Shacharis. We're going to be davening in Mekayimos that Rishonim lived. You know, once we're on the topic, the Gemara tells us that someone who's Kavei Makam L'Tfilasai, so when they pass away, they say, I Chassid, I Anav. They compliment the person for his humility, that one is Kavei Makam L'Tfilasai. What's the inyan of being Kavei Makam L'Tfilasai? There's an amazing idea that when a person's Kavei Makam L'Tfilasai, what a person is recognizing is that they're relying on the Koyach HaKedusha of their earlier tefillah, so that the tefillah they're offering again now will be more effective. If a person davens in a different place every day, so then they're saying my tefillah is effective in and of itself. But when you stay in the same makayim, you have a certain humility that you're relying on the Koyach HaKedusha of yesterday's tefillah to propel today's tefillah. So we're relying on that. We're going to be davening in these cities where Rishonim lived, where the Rashba lived, where the Rush lived, whether Barcelona, whether Toledo. We're being Kavei Makam L'Tfilaseinu. We're davening in the place where the Ma'orei Olam we're mispalel, and even though we don't have kvarim of these gedolim, but nevertheless we're soymech on the tefillos they offered over here. So wherever we may be, may all of our tefillos be answered. Berachamim of Ratzain.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.